Hello and welcome to today's session on mergers and acquisitions. I am Dr. Maruf Ahmed Mir, PhD in Financial Markets and MBA in Finance and Accounts from AMU Aligarh. And at present, I am associated with Asian Business School, Noida as Associate Professor in the area of Finance and Accounts. Dear students, mergers and acquisitions is a general term used to describe the consolidation of companies or assets through various types of financial transactions, including mergers, acquisitions, consolidations, tender offer, purchase of assets, and management acquisitions. In corporate finance, mergers and acquisitions are transactions in which the ownership of the companies, other business organizations, or their operating units are transferred or consolidated with other entities. As an aspect of strategic management, merger and acquisition can allow enterprises to grow or downsize and change the nature of their business or competitive position. From a legal point of view, a merger is a legal consolidation of two entities into one, whereas one acquisition occurs when one entity takes ownership of another entity's stock, equity interest, or of assets. From the commercial point of view and economic point of view, both types of transactions generally result in the consolidation of assets and liabilities under one entity, and the distinction between a merger and an acquisition is less clear. A transaction legally structured as an acquisition may have the effect of placing one party's business under the indirect ownership of another party's shareholders. While a transaction legally structured as a merger may give each party's shareholders partial ownership and control of the combined enterprise. A deal may be euphemistically called as merger of equals if both CEOs agree that joining together is in the best interest of both their companies. While when the deal is unfriendly, that is when the management of the target company opposes the deal, it may be regarded as acquisition. The financial world set a record in 2015 for mergers and acquisitions. The value of such deals eclipsed the previous record set in 2007, which had surpassed an earlier peak in 1999. This is perhaps not auspicious. It seems pays the late prince that we are partying as if we were in 1999 and 2007 to boot. The headlines of those years didn't bode well for either 2000-2002 or 2008-2009. It is far too early to know how the never deals will work out. But the seemingly ageless pattern of giant failures continues apace. In 2015, Microsoft wrote off 96% of the value of the handset business it had acquired from Nokia for $7.9 billion the previous year. Meanwhile, Google has unloaded for $2.9 billion the handset business it bought from Motorola for $12.5 billion in 2012. HP has written down $8.8 billion of its $11.1 billion autonomy acquisition, and in 2011, New Corporation sold MySpace for a mere $35 million after acquiring it for $580 million just 6 years earlier. To be sure, we have seen successes. The purchase of NEXT in 1997 for what now looks like a trivial $404 million saved Apple and set the stage for the greatest accumulation of shareholder value in the corporate history. The purchase of Android for $50 million in 2005 gave Google the biggest presence in smartphone operating systems, one of the world's most important product markets. And Warren Buffett rolling acquisition of GEICO from 1951 to 1996 created Berkshire Hathaway's cornerstone assets. But these are the exceptions that prove the rule confirmed by nearly all studies. Merger and acquisition is a mug's game in which typically 70% to 90% of acquisitions are abysmal failures. Why is that so? The answer is surprisingly simple. Companies that focus on what they are going to get from acquisitions are less likely to succeed than those that focus on what they have to give it. This insight echoes one from Adam Grant, who notes in his book Give and Take that people who focus more on giving than on taking in the interpersonal realm do better in the end than those who focus on maximizing their own position. For example, when a company uses an acquisition to enter an attractive market, it generally in take mode. That was the case in all the disasters just cited. Microsoft and Google wanted to get into smartphone hardware. Microsoft and Google wanted to get into smartphone hardware. HP wanted to get into enterprise search and data analytics. News Corporation wanted to get into social networking. When a buyer is in take mode, the seller can elevate its price to extract all the cumulative future value from the transaction, especially if another potential buyer is in the equation. Microsoft, Google, HP, and News Corporation paid top dollars for their acquisitions, which in itself would have made it hard to earn a return on capital. But in addition, none of them understood their new markets, which contributed to the ultimate failure of those deals. Other take-based market entry acquisitions, such as Microsoft's $1.2 billion purchase of the social networker Yammer at 40 times revenue, and Yahoo's $1.1 billion 85 times revenue purchase of Tumblr, haven't yet paid out. But it is hard to imagine that either will earn a favorable return over the long term. If you have something that will render an acquired company more competitive, however, the picture changes. As long as the acquisition cannot make that enhancement on its own, or ideally with an other acquirer, you rather than the seller will earn the rewards that flow from enhancement. An acquirer can improve its target's competitiveness in 4 ways: by being a smarter provider of growth capital, by providing better managerial oversight, by transferring value skills, and the fourth one is by sharing valuable capabilities. Students, let's now discuss what are the key terms in mergers and acquisitions. The distinction between a merger and acquisition, a divestiture, and other types of restructuring warrants are some of the clarifications. Transactions can come in a multitude of forms, can be a hybrid of several classifications, or in new markets can create a brand new classification altogether. Often, some of the definitions are used interchangeably and are categorized differently. There has really been no set standard for these definitions. But today we will attempt to simplify and clarify ahead. It is important to understand these core structures to better classify any individual transaction explored. So we will brief you only on the major keywords. The first one is acquisition. When one company, the buyer, purchases the second, usually a smaller company, the target company, the second company ceases to exist and the assets of the target are then controlled by the buyer. The employees of the target now work for the buyer, excepting those employees fired as a part of acquisition process. So if both companies cease to exist and a third company is created from the two legacy companies, the term generally used to describe the deal is called as merger. The next concept is analyst. It's also sometimes called as researcher. This is the entry level client facing position in most investment banking merger and acquisition departments. Analysts usually are hired directly from university and can join after receiving their undergraduate degree. Most stay with the bank for 2 years, sometimes 3 years, before either returning to university for their MBA or are more rarely promoted. The term analyst also refers to the individuals in a bank or other equity research institution which provides market research on companies. Now, there is something called as announcement date, the formal and public disclosure of a pending merger and acquisition deal. Prior to announcement, there may be rumors in the market about the deal and even leaks, but they cannot be confirmed. The announcement is usually made through a press release and perhaps a press conference at which the CEO of the purchaser and often the target are available for questioning by the journalists and the market analysts. So if a company is listed on a stock exchange, the exchange will also need to be informed on announcement day. And depending on the deal, other regulatory also need to be informed. What is associate? This is the position in most investment banking merger acquisition departments where employees begin to have responsibility for the creation of analysis and reports for the clients. They will be supported by and supervise analysts on specific projects and train those analysts in analytical skills. Most associates have no staff reporting to them full time except on a project basis. In some firms, there is a further intermediate step in the promotion ladder of senior associate, which is also called as assistant vice president. Now we discuss auction. When two or more companies are competing to buy the target, this usually results in a higher price of the target, but increases the time when there is uncertainty on the part of the employees of the target as to their eventual owners. Another important term is bear hug. When the bidder makes a very high offer for the target in an attempt to gain quick acceptance by the target's management and board and to prevent other bidders from taking over the target. Most bear hug offer include the implicit threat that the bidder will make a hostile takeover offer if the target board does not accept the bear hug offer. Next is bulge bracket. Within merger and acquisition industry, this refers to an elite group of global investment banking advisory firms who will typically do the most number and value of deals year after year. Another important term is closing. Students, the day during the merger and acquisition process when the two companies formally become one. If an acquisition, it will be the day when the target company ceases to exist and is absorbed into the buyer company for a merger. It is when both companies cease to operate and a new company is formed from those two companies. Then we have a term called as conglomerate. It's a company that is composed of divisions that are generally unrelated to each other and where few synergies can be gained through the combination of those businesses. A conglomerate acquisition is one where the buyer existing group of the business is unrelated to any of the business of the target. Another important term is divestiture, which is also called as spin-off. The sale of a business usually has entire division or a product line. This is sometimes planned when a company makes an acquisition because number one, for regulatory monopoly of the competition reasons, the buyer would otherwise have too large a business. Number two, the buyer purchased the target for specific assets and never intended to keep some unrelated assets of the target and therefore is now unloading them. Another important term to understand is due diligence. Students, the process during merger and acquisition deal whereby one company investigates the details, often looking at non-public information of the other company. Due diligence can be conducted without actually contacting the other company, but normally refers to the process when access to the target company is granted to a purchaser or among the two companies in a merger. Another important term used in merger acquisition is first 100 days. The period immediately after closing when the two companies begin to integrate. This first 100 days is normally the time of intense activities when key decisions about the newly combined companies are implemented, and also when most of the employees who are going to be made redundant will be informed. Integration continues after this time, but at a lower level of activity in most of the areas. Then we have a term called as friendly acquisition. From the target company's perspective, this is the deal that is agreed by management. The target company's management will recommend that the company's shareholders approve the deal. In a friendly deal, the target usually agrees to let the buyers have access to confidential information before closing. Another term we have is called as golden parachute. It's also called as silver parachute or tin parachute. Social compensation agreements, special bonus, stock options, vesting of previously awarded compensation between a company and its senior executives in case of companies acquired. Sometimes any acquisition will trigger the golden parachute, but in other cases it is triggered only when the deal is hostile. Usually, the golden parachute award will be significant in comparison to the executive's normal compensation. Silver parachute refers to the similar award granted to lower level executives and even senior managements. Tin parachutes are similar awards granted to all employees below those levels. Then we have a term called as hedge funds. Students, hedge funds are investment vehicles for high net worth individuals who invest in variety of different classes of investments, including, as related to merger acquisition deals, the shares of publicly listed companies and privately held companies. Each fund will have a particular investment strategy, but these can vary greatly between the funds. They traditionally have had minimal regulations from government authorities, but may be more tightly regulated in the future. Hostile takeover. Students, hostile takeover is a different term. From the target company's perspective, this is an unwelcome attempt by a buyer to purchase the company. In most of the hostile takeovers, the target company senior executives and board of directors will actively resist the purchase through action taken to defeat the purchaser, including finding a friendlier buyer, and will recommend to its shareholders that they vote against the purchase if the deal proceeds that far. If the deal is not hostile, it will be called as a friendly takeover. Now, there is a common term which is called investment bank, usually the principal advisor on merger and acquisition deal. The investment banker will have many responsibilities during the deal, but most often will coordinate the activities of other advisors, identify potential target companies or buyers if representing a company for sale, provide advice on the structuring the deal and the pricing, including arrangement of financing if required, and generally support senior management of the target or buyer during the deal. Some investment banks can provide the financing as well, whereas other specialist investment banks may provide only the advisory work. Now, we have one more term which is called as leverage, commonly used to indicate a company or a deal that has or uses a large amount of debt, typically at a level over 1/3 of the total financing. Then we will discuss now merger. Students, when two companies agree to combine all their operations to create a third company, while at the same time exchanging all the assets ownership of the two legacy companies for the new third company, the two legacy companies therefore cease to exist. In most mergers, the two legacy companies are usually of similar size, or else it is more likely that the deal will be structured as an acquisition. Most of the mergers are friendly. Note that some common usage applies the term merger to many transactions that should strictly be called as acquisitions. Another important term is outplacement. Firms or individual consultants who provide advice and support to employees who have been or will be made redundant. Most outplacement firms are paid by the company that has made the employees redundant, but individuals can also pay for these services themselves if their firms do not. Then we have a term called as post-merger integration. It is the period that starts upon closing of the deal, but that can last anywhere from a few months to a number of years. The post-merger integration is the time in an acquisition when all the operations of the target company are absorbed into the buyer. So if the deal was structured as a merger, then this is the time when the operations of both the legacy companies are combined. Private equity firm is an investment manager who will purchase the equity of companies that are not publicly listed on a stock exchange and therefore are privately traded. Private equity firms, as with venture capitalist firms and hedge funds, will usually plan to sell their equity at a later point after having made a certain profit on the shares that they own. Important term called venture capital firm synergy. This is like 1 + 1 = 3 effect, where the impact of two companies combining creates a stronger company than the sum of the two companies when they were independent of each other. Expense synergies, including the headcount reductions. It refers to the situation following a merger or acquisition where functions that were duplicated across the two companies can now be reduced when they are combined. For example, there is need for one CEO, not two. Now, students, we will discuss about takeover. A takeover occurs when one company makes successful bid to assume control or acquire another company. Takeover can be done by purchasing the majority stake of the target firm. Takeovers are also commonly done through the merger and acquisition process. In a takeover, the company makes the bid in the acquirer and the company it wishes to take control of is called as the target company. Students, takeovers are typically initiated by a large company seeking to take over a small company. They can be voluntary, meaning they are of a result of a mutual decision between the two companies. In other case, they may be unwelcome, in which case the acquirer goes after the target without its knowledge and sometimes without its full agreement also. In corporate finance, there can be a variety of ways for structuring a takeover. An acquirer may choose to take over controlling interest of the company's outstanding shares. It may buy the entire company outright, merger an acquired company to create new synergies, or acquire the company as a subsidiary. Now, we will discuss about venture capital firm. Students, a venture capital firm is an investment manager who will purchase the equity of startup or relatively new early stage growth company before they are publicly listed in a stock exchange. This investment in the company's equity will allow it to fund its next stage of growth. Now we will discuss private equity firm and a common term called as white knight. A white knight is a hostile takeover defense whereby a friendly individual or a company acquires a corporation at a fair consideration when it is on the verge of being taken over by unfriendly bidder or acquirer. The unfriendly bidder is generally known as black knight. Although the target company does not remain independent, acquisition by a white knight is still preferred to the hostile takeover. Now, unlike a hostile takeover, current management typically remains in place in a white knight scenario, and investors receive better compensation for their shares. Now, there are other restructuring we will discuss. So, merger, consolidation, acquisition and divestiture can all be considered types of business restructuring, as they all involve some level of reorganization aimed to increase the business profitability. Although the foregoing are just major categories, other types of business restructuring can be considered to help the fuel growth. A share buyback, for example, is when a company buy back shares in open market. This creates an anti-dilutive effect. hopefully fueling an increase in company stock price. A workforce reduction is another example of a way to reduce the cost and improve earning performance. Each of these strategies are other restructuring examples which aim in some way to improve the business values. So, this is all for today. Students, hope you have understood. So, we will meet in the next episode with a new topic. Till then, take care. Goodbye.